You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. I just wish I could get those last few people, even people that I know and interact with on a daily basis, to realize that going out there and voting for some Muppet who's going to be controlled, because there's no way you're going to get to that level and not be controlled in some aspects, that by voting for someone out there is going to make a difference in the reality that we're seeing right now. Those last few people are just hanging on to that. They're on the right side of things. They understand what's going on, but they still believe that a politician or a president has any control over anything.
Well, if you made a significant investment into somebody's business or into your business, your livelihood, if you've wrapped your whole self around that investment, it takes an awful lot for you to admit that you've made a bad investment, and even more before you're able to extricate yourself from it. And there's the latent shame, I guess, that people feel for making bad investments. You didn't know you got lied to. You've been propagandized since you were born. You've had just about everybody in your life believe the same bullshit lies propaganda that you did. So of course they're going to act like you're crazy. If you start to question these things, it's going to make it even harder for you to get out of that investment. I got nothing but empathy for those people, but I also have permission. I give you permission to release yourself from your bad investment. Okay? You can do it. You can. It's all right. And there's much better investments to be made with the time, the energy, and the resources that you have left.
We're in a very critical time, and even people who still are hanging on to the Trump hope, or that RFK is going to come along and be the savior, I think we just need to get rid of that savior complex in general.
Well, here's the rub. And if people are listening right now, they're familiar with they've heard me say this before. But until we go out and we show people an alternative, they're always going to grudgingly side with the status quo, because people don't want to be forced into a position of uncomfortability. So if you can show them a viable working model of a community that can operate without the tentacles of the state around them, they're much, much more likely to side with you. It's almost less of a savior complex. Yes, everybody wants to be able to point to a specific person, hero, whatever. We've been raised to believe in these archetypes and all that. But I do think underlying that is the inherent security that even a bad day in the status quo provides over the fearful unknown of a nebulous, government-free future or something like that.
Now, I want to get into your thoughts on what is really going on behind the scenes at entities like the World Economic Forum and the lizard people that are in control there. Do you think that these ideas and agendas and all the horrible ideas that come down the pipeline are being put forward from the lizard people that we actually know of at the World Economic Forum? Do you think it's coming from some unknown source above them? And what are some of the things that could be coming down the pipeline that people may not realize that you've been looking into?
So the World Economic Forum, the Chatham House, the Bloomberg New Economy Forum, all of these groups, they're not the puppet masters. They're not. They're middle management for the globalist, oligarchical, I don't know, cabal. We've got a number of different bloodline families. China's got its immortal families. There's people who have existed, out front in the spotlight and behind the scenes for hundreds and hundreds of years, who have manipulated the mechanisms of power almost always via finance. And so when we look at all of these groups like the WEF and stuff, above them, at least determining economic policy, is the Bank of International Settlements and its board of governors. Always. These are the people that are going to guarantee the loans for everything. So you look at the BIS, their board of governors, you look at the people who have stemmed from that original Milner group from 115 years ago, and the Roundtable group, the people who attend things like Bilderberg are in much more of a management position in terms of how policy gets determined and how, the agendas get implemented than the WEF. But the WEF is where you get to rent your favorite Congress critter or your favorite member of the European Parliament or the Indian Parliament. You got a CEO that you need to get on board for something later. You get them in the chalet with the 12-and-a-half-year-old Swiss boy or girl or whatever, and things happen. And that's your, it's a job fair for people who already have some of the best jobs in the world.
Right, yeah. Now, we all are aware of the agendas that are in the pipeline, all the propaganda, all the psychological operations that are coming down the pipe, and we can sniff an operation a mile away whenever it happens, but there seems to be a lull between the next big thing that's going to occur, because it seems like they've put too much time and money and effort into the whole COVID and then jabby jab to just give up on that whole thing. Do you see another type of like COVID part 2, or are we going to see a ramp up in the climate change agenda, the fake UFOs? It just does. It seems like there's a lull right now, but there's always something else.
Well, they've got a a little room off the White House, and every once in a while they walk into the room, they bring in a midget. The midget spins the wheel o' psyops,
yeah.
And wherever the wheel o' psyops land is what we get. It was Blue Beam last week.
Man, they probably really do that shit.
Titanic sub-exploration this week. The next week, well, they just had Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal come out and be like, we're implementing a declaration that any Russian nuclear attack is an attack on NATO. So they're seeding that false flag narrative as of this morning, is that Russia's going to do a first strike nuclear attack, which is something they've been trying to seed for about a year. I think that as long as the WHO is convening to shore up, firm, and implement the international health regulations, which are going to guarantee the digital health passport, the no jab, no fly, that thing, that there's always going to be the potential for the next pandemic. You hear these guys talk.
What seems like the most obvious and easy one for them to pull off, I don't know, some that speculate that COVID was just like a test run for that.
If you go back to March, I don't even know if they'd officially implemented lockdown yet. I don't know if they had or not. But of 2020, there was an Action for Assange vigil that I was on where I said, I think this is going to be a live fire exercise. It feels like a live fire exercise. So yeah, there's bullets in the chamber. There's going to be bodies stacked. But this isn't the full, real